Good.
Good.
Adjustment meeting, call to order. 7 South Market Street Plaza, Smyrna, January 28th, 2026 at 6:04 PM. Would everyone please stand, rise, and join with me in pledging allegiance to our flag? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everyone here this evening to join us for a public hearing to consider a variance. Mr. Rothwell, was the application published?
Yes, it was.
All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony?
There he is.
Truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
There you go. I didn't see you walk over there. You're sitting right there.
That's okay. Thank you,
yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Agreed. So do I have a motion to approve the published agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Gabby, I'm sorry. The minutes are being recorded, correct? Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the December 18th, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move forward with the application before us this evening. Mr. Rothwell, you've been sworn in. Would you please share your staff report with the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an application from Dante and Amber Fassett at 50 Mischief Lane for applicant is requesting a variance to approach that feed into a 30-foot drainage easement in-ground. This is the second rehearing. This is the third total hearing for this application. This application was advertised in the Delaware State News on January the 6th. It was posted at Town Hall on December 31st. It was posted on the subject property on January the 6th, and it was mailed to the property owner and the budding property owners on December the 30th last year. This application, again, this is the second rehearing and the third total hearing. This originally came before you in September of 2023. And the original request, this is from 2023, as shown on the screen, was for an 18 by 36 in-ground swimming pool located 19 feet from the rear property line, which is an 11-foot encroachment in the 30-foot wide drainage easement, which goes along all of the properties in the Lake Como Woods subdivision. And it showed a 3-foot apron around said hole. Now, this was reheard in August of 2025, excuse me, and due to the applicant had previously to conduct an engineering report of drainage, and that report, and when it was brought back before the Board of Adjustment, you all voted to table the application so the applicant could get a more complete engineering analysis and study, get input from the Kent Conservation District, which is responsible for enforcing the stormwater management in the subdivision, and to get input from the Town Public Works Department as well. Since that time, the applicant has hired Greg Scott of Scott Engineering to conduct an analysis. And the full report, which is referred to as Drainage Assessment Lands of Dante Fassett, 50 Mischief Lane, is shown as an exhibit in your packet, which I'd like to enter into the record. Greg Scott did a analysis of a 16 by 32 foot in-ground swimming pool with either a concrete or a brick paver apron surrounding said pool. And it found that there was no impact on the drainage or said in-ground swimming pool. Now, this swimming pool, which they conducted an analysis for, is slightly smaller than the pool that was brought before you previously in the previous two hearings. The previous swimming pool was an 18 by 36. This one is a 16 by 32. However, this swimming pool is actually, even though it's a slightly smaller swimming pool, is actually located slightly closer to the property line. This one's located 11 foot from the property line as opposed, or excuse me, this one's located, encroaches about a little over 14 feet into the easement, into the drainage easement as opposed to 11 feet. So it's a little over 3 feet difference in the encroachment. So it actually encroaches more than what was advertised for our for the variance hearing, because this is a rehearing of a previous application. So the applicant previously applied for an 11-foot encroachment, so that's what we advertised for. So what's shown here on this plan is actually a greater encroachment, but Greg Scott from Scott Engineering found that there was minimal to no impact on the drainage easement if they were to build this swimming pool with apron. The Greg Scott from Scott Engineering subsequently sent this concept plan and the engineering analysis to the Kent Conservation District for their review and comment. And their comment letter and letter of no objection is included in your packet, which I'd like to include as an exhibit. This is a letter of no objection dated December 29th. They did request that if you were to approve the swimming pool, that it be conditioned upon if future maintenance of the system within the easement must be performed, all structures within the easement must be removed. I also sent this application and the drainage report and the letter from Kent Conservation District to the Public Works Department, and the Director of Public Works likewise issued a letter of no objection. However, that letter of no objection does not mean you have to approve the application. That means that they don't have an objection to this pool being located in the drainage easement. Now, because the application was advertised for 11-foot encroachment into the drainage easement, that is the most that you can legally grant, because that's what was advertised in the newspaper. So even though this is a over 14-foot encroachment, you cannot, unless this project were to be re-advertised, this cannot be approved of anything more than an 11-foot encroachment. And I think to rehash some of the facts of the case from the previous hearings, I think most people would realize that swimming pools are a fairly common amenity in a residential subdivision, that individuals expect the ability to be able to have a swimming pool. However, in certain instances, you are not able to do so. And if you were to apply for a variance in terms of what any hardship would be, in the opinion of staff, you have to determine and make it your own subjective determination in terms of what is an appropriate size pool? What is the minimum size swimming pool that this applicant should be granted in order to lessen the impact for the drain? So each case has to be, each variance case has to be reviewed and ruled upon individually. So just to emphasize that. In terms of the unusually, and I spoke to Kent Conservation District about this when this was originally heard. These are photographs from the back of the site. You know, this this essentially, this fence going down the property line is essentially, these are both sides of the property line essentially. So the area, unfortunately, or very unusually, even though this is a drainage easement, a drainage swale was never constructed. And Kent Conservation District could not comment on that. This was done over 10 years ago. So there was there was a drainage easement that was recorded with the subdivision, but a drainage facility was never actually constructed for this particular area. So, but you have the ability to rule on the individual facts of the case. So, happy to answer.
So noted on exhibit A and B.
Yes, and my staff report, which I
Understood.
enter into the record.
So noted. I'm going to start with Mrs. Sanford. Do you have any questions for staff?
No.
Mrs. Wright?
No.
Mr. Newton?
One question, Mr. Rothwell.
Yes.
The pergola or structure there, is that a permanent structure and does that sit in the easement? I know I don't know if you know.
I'm not 100% sure. I would defer to the applicant.
When the applicant's gonna come, I'll ask him.
So,
Anything further? Mr. King?
No, I had the same thing and, whether it was permitted and how did it get permitted if it's an easement? The second thing, I don't know if it was reviewed the first time it went through, but looking through the information that you provided, after the original house, there was a permit issued for the deck on the back. There's also 2 other patios. Were they added on or was that part of the original house?
I go through the, let me look at the, I would ask the applicant that. I guess that whenever we have an application that comes before you, I go through our property file to see what permits they were applied for because it may or may not have a bearing on the case. So I list all the permits they've obtained, but I can't speak to them. I was here, but I don't review it. So I would defer that to the applicant.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Anything further?
That's it.
Mr. Rothwell, so the published agenda that was submitted for the last 30 days represents 11 foot, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And that's what the original.
And this application is calling for 14.
Well, the applicant didn't, we essentially, because this is an unusual instance in that this application was tabled.
Right,
So essentially we go with what the original application says.
right.
So
So
the accompanying attachments that came with this rehearing came for something that was greater, a smaller pool, but a greater encroachment, if that makes sense.
yes, it does. So the information we received from Scott Engineering represents this pool approaching the easement 14 feet,
That is correct. A greater encroachment than what was originally proposed.
plus what was published.
That is correct, yes.
Mr. Edwards, I just want to confirm for the board that the information that has been provided to us represents a pool and a structure as far as whether it's going to be brick pavers or concrete. I'm assuming we'll probably request brick pavers, but represents that this information, this pool is sitting further into the easement than is being asked for.
So ultimately, but I think we need to speak with the applicant, right? Because it was originally requested to be an 11-foot encroachment. That's what it was noticed for. And the applicant can still just say, we're going to encroach 11 feet. We're not going to go over that.
Okay.
Right. Irrespective of what's shown here.
Right.
They can say that, they're going to do that. Now, I will also say that, unless, some of these other questions that were asked about other things on the property and stuff, unless that really impacts the potential encroachment into the drainage area of what's being proposed, I'm not sure that's something we need to get into necessarily. Right. We're just really focusing on what the impact of the construction of this pool and the surrounding apron will be on drainage if it were to encroach into the drainage easement.
So noted. Board, you comfortable with that?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Russell.
So just to be clear, the application has been entered into the record as Exhibit A, the application and staff report, the Scott Engineering Analysis as Exhibit B,
Yes.
the Kent Conservation Letter of No Objection as Exhibit C, and the Public Works Letter of No Objection as Exhibit D.
Agreed.
Okay.
Moving forward, do we have the applicant with us this evening? Would you please stand? Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to the testimony that you're about to give this evening is the truth? If so, say I do.
I know.
Would you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Dante Fingerford.
Well,
I'm
welcome.
sorry, address, 50 Mischief Lane, Savannah, Delaware.
You're fine.
197.
Welcome, Dante.
Thank you, thank you.
So you kind of heard of some of the questions that were asked in reference to your pool and the background on it. So we're going to start with Mrs. Sampier. If you have any questions for the applicant,
I do not at this moment.
Mr. Needham.
Just to follow up with what I was asking Mr. Rothwell, the structure that's on there, it says it's a gazebo. Is that a permanent structure, or because in the report it says that from the Kent Conservation said that it needs to be removed if it was a permanent structure? That's the only reason why I was asking if it's in the encroachment that it needed to, any existing structures inside the encroachment needed to be removed. So I just wanted to, if you weren't aware of that, that's a stipulation that needs to be followed and something we need to address.
So I can partially answer that because I don't know if the applicant is a position to answer that particular question. What KCD specified was that if, and this is a proviso that they put in for tax ditches especially, is that if any maintenance is required, that any structures have to be removed. So that would include the gazebo and that would include the pool.
Yeah.
So that's a proviso that they put in essentially all their easements for.
And I just wanted to make sure that the applicant was understanding of what was taking place.
To answer your question, yes, the gazebo is removable. It is not held down, it is not nailed down. It was purchased from Sam's Club and built.
Yeah, I saw on the diagrams that it had pavers and I just wanted to make sure for the public record that it was.
Yes.
And to follow up with the other questions about the easement of encroaching more inside the easement, the 14 feet or the 14 feet instead of the 11. Is that something that you talked with the engineer about changing, or?
So I did talk to the engineer as well as the pool builder, and we talked about the 6 foot on the right side, I would say, of the pool. So if you take that down to 3 foot instead of 6 foot, that will take us 3 foot out of the easement, as well as less of a minimum risk with the drainage easement. And I spoke to Mr. Greg Scott this morning regarding it, and I spoke to Mr. Gary Sipes this morning as well.
So just to be clear, if you were to be granted an 11-foot encroachment today, meaning that that pool can only go basically 19 feet from that property line, that's not going to be a problem. You can construct a pool that's at least 19 feet away from that rear property line.
From what Mr.
Greg Scott.
Greg Scott, from what Mr. Greg Scott provided me with, yes.
Okay. So what would be constructed wouldn't necessarily follow what is up here in this diagram, but it would be set farther back from that property line, meaning it would encroach less. It would only encroach 11 feet.
Correct.
Okay.
I have no further questions.
Mrs. Wright.
That's my question.
Like I said, don't need to stand up.
If you could just stand for a minute, please. We still,
Are you?
I just want the board,
First of all, are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Would you like a bottle of water to drink?
I would, but I'm a
Right.
thank you.
We do
I
have some
appreciate
here.
it.
yeah, there's some water there for it. So in reference to the 30-foot setback in the rear yard, correct?
It's a 30-foot drainage easement, yes.
30-foot
Which
drainage,
essentially is a 30-foot setback.
correct. What you're trying to do is out of that 30 feet is approach 11 foot of it. right? You understand that, correct?
Yes.
You guys follow me on that? So I noticed that you reduced the pool from an 18 by 36 to a 16 by 32. Is there a reason why you need to approach so far into that easement,
Meaning the 11 feet?
the 11 feet? Why I mean, is 5 feet enough? Is 6 feet if you moved the pool closer to your deck?
Well, we discussed that as well, and they couldn't come close to the deck because it have to be a certain distance from the house.
I'm sorry?
It have to be a certain distance from the back of the house, so it couldn't come closer to the deck.
There is a provision in the code that structures have to be 10 feet,
10 feet.
10 feet from a house.
Right, but he's got a deck that's what size?
I believe it's a 12 by 16.
12 by 16, so you're 12 feet already from there. And then it looks to me you're another 5, 6, 7, another 8 or 10 feet from that. So you have some room to move it closer. I'm trying to determine what is the hardship here. As far as giving you,
So why don't you so what would be the hardship? Why are you unable to build this completely out of the drainage easement?
There's not enough space.
Okay, so describe to us why there wouldn't be enough space.
Well, I can't describe that. The pool builder would have to describe that. But I called the pool builder out. I showed him my property assessment that they give you when you purchase the house, the land survey.
Right.
I provided him that. He looked at the measurements and he told me this is where the pool has to go.
Right.
And then he explained why.
So I think what the chair, and the chair can correct me, but I think one of the things he's asking is you went from an 18-foot wide pool to a 16-foot wide pool. Can you go to a narrower pool, like a 12-foot or a 14-foot pool? Is that what you're trying to ask?
I am. I'm trying to determine
I'm trying to.
what's the minimum size pool?
So a question I would have is why wasn't that requested before? I mean,
What was requested before? When you came the last time, we talked about you.
So
Let me,
hold on. All right. So in order for us to make a decision today, we just have to ask you questions. If we're asking these questions, it's not accusatory in any way, right? We're not like trying to accuse you or trip you up. We just need to get more information so we can make the decision. We need to create a record here, right? And so whether it's you, anyone who is in your position, we're going to ask the exact same question. We're going to say, what's the hardship? Why can't you comply? All right. We've asked it to 1 million applicants. So we're not trying to accuse you of anything, right? Right. So you just need to explain to us why you can't comply, why it needs to be this size. It's
so understandable, but it's not about I can't comply. We wanted the pool. We called the pool company out and we asked, what can we do?
right.
Our deed restrictions say we can't have a in-ground pool, a above ground pool during certain times of the month. So I said, what can we do with an in-ground pool? Now, this is what I was told. If he would have come out and said, oh, I can put this out of the easement, then how can we make that work?
Right.
But I was told that couldn't be done because the yard was too narrow, and this was the next step.
okay. So it's because the yard is so narrow, it's just not deep enough.
Yes.
Looking at this, we couldn't move the pool right to the patio? Because I've seen that before.
Mhm. I believe this young man is, what he's saying to us is that he hired a pool company and they provided him what they felt would be a nice pool for his yard. The details to that, which we're asking you, is for the board to determine when you apply for a variance that we're able to make a calculated decision based on a hardship, let's say, if that was the case. And that's like our solicitor is saying, we're trying to revisit all these questions so that we can determine, what is the proper position for this board to make a decision on giving what depth that pool can be into that easement. As we evaluate your plan, we see that you have a pool design. We see that you have a concrete or paving system designed around it. And we also see there's some space there before your deck and the current patio you have. So with all that space, the question was, could we move the pool back some more to stay away from that easement?
I'm sorry, when you say all that space, which side are you talking about?
I'm talking about the side to your house.
No, like,
I'm talking about the long side,
The side where the pergola is or the
What-
side with?
Patio.
where the patio and the deck is.
Patio.
okay,
Okay,
So you, instead of that little walkway coming off your patio,
Move it up.
your pavers or your concrete that's around your pool would be up against your patio.
well,
oh, so.
from my understanding, I thought that's how it was, looking at this.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's some kind of space in between of, so if we're looking at this, there's space in between here.
Can I come up a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, let me look
Yeah.
over here.
There's a space in between here. That's
Okay,
grass, gravel, whatever they plan on putting in there. We're saying if we take this and just move it up to your patio, that would give us
no, 3 feet.
another 3 feet that you would not be needing to encroach into the easement. So your easement encroachment would be less.
not encroaching as far as.
And not as
Right.
far into the easement.
Okay.
If the redesign would be pushing that up.
Sure.
I don't know if it's hard for you to maybe explain. Do you think that Mr. George Scott will be able to come here if we don't make a decision today? To
Greg.
Greg,
I
sorry, Greg
was the
Scott.
engineer,
Yes,
I don't know how that fast.
maybe you'll give us a better explanation why. It wouldn't be, we wouldn't be able to push it closer to the patio.
Well, I think what you actually are looking for is the pool designer, not Greg Scott is
Yeah.
the one, the engineer is the one who did the analysis for runoff and for drainage.
Okay,
So I think
Pool
what
person.
you're asking for questions related to the pool designer. But,
So can you tell us what the report indicated from Greg Scott? What did he say about drainage in his report?
And Mr. Greg Scott report, he said that the pool, well, first he said the main concern from Kent Conservation District was how would this pool affect the swell? And then he said that there's no swell in the back of my yard, that the swell doesn't start to, I believe, property lot 37.
Ground.
So there is no swell.
It was
And I
replacing
asked
it.
about the drainage, yeah, this is all new to me. I knew nothing about this. So I did ask him about how would it affect the drainage easement and how is it? When I first heard about the easement, I thought maybe it was something underground that you gotta have to go back there, dig up the yard and repair. I knew nothing about a drainage easement or utility easement. And then he explained, no, it's just the way the water runs and the water flows in the back of your house. And I said, okay, thank you for that information. But after explaining, he said it would create minimum to no risk at all by inserting this pool that would affect the drainage easement in any way.
Okay, so he said that installing the pool would have minimal to no effect on the drainage in that area in the easement.
Yes.
Mr. Fezzik, just two quick questions. First of all, I mean, if this is approved, you understand that something changes down the road. They need to make a change on that, or they need to add a swell back there that you would have to remove your pool.
If they need, so I did, yes,
That could be costly.
it could be, but I did talk to other people. I did talk to some attorneys as well. So I've been, since the last hearing, I've been doing some research and then doing some questioning and speaking to some people regarding. But yes, I do understand. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Brooks Keen.
Brooks King?
Keen, Keen.
Brooks King. Yeah, Mr. Brooks King, I have.
Yeah, I mean, just, if that were mine, I would, I'd love to have a pool like that. My son just put one in, but I mean, if I were to do that, I would be afraid that if something came down the road and they came in to do maintenance and every one of your neighbors was able to do that, and they're going to get to your brand new pool and say, hey, we can't put a swell in there because now we do have a water issue. And we definitely have drainage issues in Smyrna every time it rains. Second thing, back in 2020, I don't know if you can answer this or if staff could answer that. It looks like there was an issue with the fence that would be required for around the pool to begin with, but could you take a look at that, Jeremy? It said that, staff had a concern about it going all the way to the ground. And it
So-
doesn't
so
look like
we-
that was addressed with the pictures that we have.
no, so the condition that KCD requested, essentially it says that in the event of that drainage has to occur, that, that maintenance has to occur, that fence would have to be removed. The town has a similar provision for fences and drainage easements. So we have a provision and essentially a condition of approval for fences. This goes for utility easements and drainage easements, that if the town or KCD has to do maintenance, that fence has to come out at the owner's expense.
Well, this stated that there was a concern about the water impeding the flow of water in that easement.
This was from the 2023 staff report, but that's what it's referring to. So that if in the event they have to do maintenance, or if there is, it's the same thing for a utility easement. If town staff have to get in there to correct an issue, in this case, if they have to come in there KCD has to come in there to correct a drainage issue, that fence has to come out and at the property owner's expense. So almost all the property owners have fences in the drainage easement, and that would apply to every property owner who has a fence in the drainage easement. And essentially, that's just a provision to protect the town and to protect KCD.
Okay, that's different than what I look at here. Basically, when the town did the final inspection on the fence, it was discovered that the applicant installed the fence to the ground within the drainage easement, which will impede the flow of water within said easement. Staff from the Department of the Building Inspections may require this fence be altered to allow the flow of water within the drainage easement.
Yeah, I can't remember why that was put in. This was done 2.5 years ago in terms of that particular section. But I believe I'm going from memory here. So.
Do you have any further questions for the applicant?
I'm about to win it.
Please, right there, sir. Yeah,
I thought I'm sorry, I just got a little dry.
no, that's fine. Thank you.
So in terms of the apron, the decking that's going to go around the pool, is it going to be concrete or brick pavers?
Concrete.
But, wouldn't that be part of the board's decision to request him to have pavers or concrete?
You would have the ability, if, again, you can approve as requested. You can approve with conditions.
Right.
Including a lesser amount.
Right.
Or you can deny the application. Those are essentially you can take. So if you approve, one of those conditions you may decide to define the material of the apron. Brick pavers would would allow for greater, that would allow for water to seep through as opposed to concrete.
Concrete, right.
Impervious. But that would be at a consideration of the Board of Adjustment.
Just for the applicant, would it be an issue if the board wanted brick pavers to reduce the drainage issues in that area?
I wanted brick pavers to do it, to be honest with you, starting out. I didn't care for the concrete look. But no, I did talk to Mr. Gary Scott and Mr. Greg about could we do either or concrete or brick pavers. The brick pavers is a lot more expensive than the concrete, but no.
Okay, so that wouldn't be an issue. That just might be one of the things that the board considers, because if it's brick pavers, it would reduce any potential drainage issues because the water can seep through the brick versus the concrete.
All right. Any further questions for the applicant from the board? Mr. Roberts, do you have any further questions for the applicant?
I don't.
Mr. Rothwell?
No, I would just rehash in terms of you have the ability to approve the requested 11-foot.
You can sit down if you'd like.
You have the ability to approve the requested 11-foot variance to allow a pool to encroach 11 feet into the drainage easement. You can approve that with outright. You can approve it with conditions, and that those conditions may improve requiring brick pavers. You could approve a pool with a less than 11-foot encroachment. You cannot approve a pool with a encroachment greater than 11 feet.
Right.
you can also deny the application and you have the ability to table the application.
Sir, if you don't mind, I just want to kind of walk through this whole process, right? So from what I'm gathering, you provided the information from the pool company as well as an engineer as well as KCD, which I thank you for doing all that work to determine the issue with the water flow in your backyard, especially when you have a fence that surrounds your whole yard, right? So when you look out your back door, that 30 feet is your yard in reality. So it looks like you have a deep backyard. The question, I guess, is when your pool designer designed the pool for you, I don't know if he was in a full understanding that he was approaching into that easement. Because that easement runs along all those houses in the rear. Every one of them. Right from that cul-de-sac all the way down. And so all the houses from your left to your right is all in that easement. Is it feasible to say that it's possible that you could move that pool a little closer to the house so that you're not approaching that easement as much? I'm trying to create, an understanding between the board and you in reference to your want and your need of this pool. Because once the board makes a decision, I would rather you be a part of understanding the decision we're making for you.
I have a question for you. If you went back to your pool person and told him to put it up to your patio deck, would you be willing to do that?
That's something my wife and I
I understand, but that would put you,
closer out. So I understand what you guys are saying. I do. That's when I came in the first time, you guys asked for some information. I went to Ed and AI, I got that.
Right.
When I came back, you guys asked for some more information. I have no problem with cooperating and trying to make things
Sure.
better. So let me just start by saying that. To be honest, can we move the pool closer? Can we move the pool back? When I say back, not wide out, like behind.
Mhm.
Possibly. Could it be done? Yes, possibly. How close would that be to, like, so you come off the deck? You come off the deck and just fall right into the pool? That's a concern that I would bring up. Like,
Sure.
okay, my 7-year-old. Listen, this is just forgetting these things.
No, that's what happens with age, right?
Yes. If my 7-year-old come out and he walked down and she want to step directly into the pool,
Sure.
is my concern. I ain't worried about the dog. He be all right. In between, and I'm not really keen on this. I'm into cooking. That's my industry. I'm a chef. So, but do we know the space? That gap that she was showing me, do we know how much feet that is in between?
Well, that's where your engineer would know, because he did your survey
Your designer. not-
and your designer.
Okay.
So
Because-
here's the board today, as you heard, can make several decisions. It's very difficult to create a hardship in an easement. You didn't have to have a deck, take the deck out, we put a pool in a patio, right? So there's options and there's opportunity to stay away from that easement. And it's up to us to manage that. And not saying that the board gives you 1 foot, 5 foot, 12 feet, 11 feet, whatever. It's up to the board to make that decision and agree upon it. We could table this tonight, give you the opportunity to go back to your designer and say, look, the town has brought the information to us in reference to this approaching the easement. how do we minimize the approachment of that easement? And I believe your designer could come up with some more room. Or we can put it to vote this evening. And as you heard, it could be denied. That means that you can't come back. Right? And that's just not what I want to see. Or we could move forward and see where the favor of the board. I'm just trying to be out front with you on what's best for you to have this pool. I remember the story with the kids, and believe me, we've been together for quite a bit here with this pool. So we wanted you to have that, but understand too, the board has an obligation to the town to protect that easement. And there's a number of houses behind you, and and you set presence, right? What are your thoughts of that?
We've been fighting this thing for like going on 3 years now.
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah.
Respectfully, I would ask, what is it that the board is looking for? So this last hearing can be the last hearing.
I think that the board, as I stated, if we go to a vote this evening, I'm just going to give you a hypothetical thing, and the board says no, right? And then it's in, right? Or the board says, hey, we're going to give you 2 feet, right, to approach. Then you only have 2 feet to work with. So therefore, it may not work out as well anyway. I think that the end result is, I think the picture of where this pool actually is going to be and the size of it for you and your wife and your family is important. Just looking at the deck personally, I could see the steps coming off onto the patio and it all being handrail everywhere else. So everybody comes on the porch, they get off on onto the patio, then get in, on to the pool, and you designed it to the end, I guess, for, chairs and all those things. So you got plenty of room. We're just working with this up and down from the house out to the other edge of your pool. Now understand too, the other side of that pool here, you have maybe a 3-foot walk around. Do you know that if it's 3 foot or 2 foot or 5 feet?
On the side of the gate,
Yeah,
I believe it's 3 foot.
3 foot. And naturally that's just a walk around to clean the pool, or the kids running around. But, these are the details that you may be able to have the designer look at and come back and say, okay, this is really where we are. This is what meets our needs. And I think that would be a better position for you.
And I know you have concerns
will go
about
to
your
that.
kids from the deck, but
If we
I have a friend that has a pool that comes off their deck and they have fence right there, so you have to open it up to get into the pool. I know it's a couple more dollars, but trying to find a way to get this, just a few more things that may need to be done.
Can I just say something? Have we ever had maybe a designer come in and give us a better explanation of what can be done? Rather than you come in and explain to us, and he's a professional that could give us a better idea of what could be done and what would be, that would be good for us
So-
to make a better decision.
So I see a lot of Board of Adjustment hearings, most of which actually are not in the town of Smyrna. And what will happen a lot of times is you'll have whoever designed the matter, like it'll be the architect that comes in and provides testimony and presents the case and says, I just had one where they said, we have this building and when we got into it, we found out there's steel beams underneath. We'd have to cut the steel off and do all sorts of stuff. That's the hardship here. They'll say, we can't design this for some other reason, and they'll kind of present testimony. And so, as was said, if the pool designer were to come in and say, here's where the pool's going to go on the ground, it's got to go in this place. We can't put it another different place. Here's the reasons why. That might give the board a higher degree of comfort here. Ultimately, I think the board is just trying to look for, get a better idea of where is the location the pool can go that'll minimize that encroachment into the drainage easement, right? So right now what we're seeing, it's coming like 15 feet into it or something like that. I know you said that you could push it back so it only comes 11 feet, which is, ideal, but I guess if you could have the pool designer come in and have a plan like this showing exactly where it's going to go, right? Because it's difficult for us to deal in abstracts of like, well, it's going to go here, here. It's like, we want to see it like on paper where it's going to go. And then the pool designer can just say, listen, this is why it's got to go here. It can't go anywhere else for these reasons. Does that make sense?
One thing that the board may or may not consider is that if you have a number in mind, you have the ability to approve a variance for something less than 11 feet, and it's up to the pool designer to make it fit within that allowable encroachment. That would keep the property owner from having to come back again. If you have so it was advertised for an 11-foot encroachment. If you want to do another number that is less than 11 feet that you think would be a less of an encroachment, that's something that you have the ability to do. If you have a number that you think, we don't think so.
I wouldn't do that. No, I'm not sure unless we, have evidence indicating what would be a better number. I feel like we'd just be
Shooting it there.
a number out of the,
Yeah, I just
so.
think it's to the best interest of you to have your designer put those numbers in play, meet with you on site again so that he can explain to you, the position of your deck, your patio, where the walkways are going to be, where the actual pool's going to be. And then he can bring those numbers to us. And we can make a decision at that point. At that point, the board still has a right to make any decision that they favor. However, at that time, if they say, okay, well, this is what we agree on, then at least you don't have to come back. But your survey and the picture that you're showing represents approaching 14 feet into it. You follow me? So it's deceiving to that point, but is that something that you're interested in, tabling this project until next month, or would you like this board to move forward with a decision?
I'm okay with tabling, but I want to be very clear on what is it that we are looking for.
From your standpoint or our standpoint, what you're looking for?
Like from your standpoint.
All right, so I think what we're asking is for your pool designer or your pool company, stand up just like you did, give testimony to why they designed the pool the way they designed it. Because
and the location of
why it's there, because there might be reasonings that they're not telling you why they put it here. They're just saying, hey, this is the best spot for the pool.
Okay.
So they could sit there and tell us X, Y, and Z. This is why it can't be here. And then we can make our judgment of saying, okay, that is a hardship that we weren't thinking about, or we were thinking about, and we can understand and do the best for yourself and the town on our decision.
So, and to be clear, you've come a long way, right? You're headed in the direction to give the board all the information needed to make the decision, right? You've provided a report from Scott Engineering that based on the content of the report, not me passing judgment, but based on the content of the report, it indicates that this will not create any drainage issues, right? So that's important. And so I think with this is just like the last piece of information that the board is looking for in order to make a decision, just being able to understand, where this can go to minimize the impact and the reasons for that. Within that, again, not encroaching more than those 11 feet. And so I know that a pool should last a long time in your backyard, right? And so, if we wait another month or two, whatever it is, hopefully.
Listen, I want to point this out to you so we understand. This here is your fence. This is your rear yard. from here, 30 feet is the easement of the town. Or KCD
Yes. the green.
is actually the responsible party for this easement. So this 30 feet, you're approaching your pool 14 feet into that. We're saying, what is the hardship for that pool to approach that 14 feet and or advertise 11 feet? We don't want to approach it 1 foot if we can't, we don't have to. But we're willing to understand and listen to your hardship to give you a footage to approach that. This board has a right to give you none, 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 5, whatever they want. They can tell you to put patio pavers there, you're not going to have concrete. That the board has that authority. That's why we're trying to talk to you. And like our town sister said, Mr. Evers, we've been through a lot. But I don't, did you fully understand that part? So what we're saying is, how much taller does this pool become? And does it filter a little closer here? And then the board looks at that amount of approachment to the easement. That's what we're saying. We're trying to minimize that approachment. Because this, as I stated, goes all the way down to development.
So a question I have is, I hear what the board is saying, and I hear what you guys are saying that you're trying to minimize. If an engineer report was done and it showed that there's a minimum to no risk with this pool being there, why are we trying to minimize it?
Well, as Mr. Evers said, we're looking for, the board looks at hardship. Is this pool a hardship or not? It's not a hardship. We're trying to find a way to help and support you and your family. However, there's no what is the hardship? We don't see none today.
Okay.
So we're asking if you're willing, if you want to table it, we could definitely work with you and redesign that pool to get accurate numbers and placement. Or we can move forward tonight with a vote. I mean, we're just trying to be supportive.
Can I just say one thing? We're trying to make sure that it doesn't hit or stay away from the drainage. And also, the reason we're asking for the designer to come is because there's a lot of questions that we could ask him and you're not able to answer. So it'll be better for you and for us.
I understand that. I mean, that's definitely understandable. I mean, goes directly to the beast, right?
Right.
Why go to the mailman when you can go to the beast? So I understand that.
Is there anyone else here who wants to speak for or against this application?
Yeah, I was going. Do we have anyone to speak for this application with us? Do we have anyone to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none?
I do have a letter of opposition.
Okay,
I have an email received from Nancy Nassau on Friday, January the 9th. Says, "Dear Mr. Rothwell, I answer this as a concerned citizen. I don't live right there, so I have no general benefit or detriment to plans. As the daughter of a drainage engineer that is responsible for major developments, I was taught the importance of drainage easements. You should know that drainage easements are essential and should not be encroached upon. While such easements may seem dry all the time and look entirely useless, they are still there for a reason, and blocking a drainage easement may cause flooding of a neighboring property during a large storm in the future. A pool structure could also become compromised because of said flooding and cause dangerous collapse. It is entirely possible that none of the adjacent neighbors come out to argue my points, may not be aware of the situation, but the building and planning department should not allow any building of any kind to be put on any easement of any kind. Easements are meant to be a space that is never built on or encroached in every way. Best regards, Nancy Nassau." So I like that.
Exhibit E,
Please.
I believe it's E, correct?
Yep.
So noted. So would you like us to table this project? And for you to go further, would you like us to vote upon it this evening?
So just so that I'm clear on this as well, because do you want this to be re-advertised as an 11-foot?
So I think here's what needs to happen, right? So we need to wait to get whatever information. Ideally, your pool company can provide us, what we would want to see is something exactly like this, showing where the pool company thinks that the pool should go, right? With respect to that 30-foot easement. So we need something to show where that is, right?
That minimizes the effect of the easement.
Yep. And it'll say, this is going to encroach 11 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet, whatever it is. So as soon as we get that, then we can schedule a new hearing, re-advertise it, and have you come back. But I think that it'd be best that we just have that, so we're just all clear on what. Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right, and we'll re-advertise this, but
Add it to the determined date.
and to an determined date, but all the exhibits and everything that we were entered here, we'll re-enter those into the next.
Okay.
So noted. All right, so we'll table it.
Make
Do you have any other business? It's just, no, 14. Do you have any other business to bring before the board? Have a motion to adjourn? Second,
Second.
all in favor? Just in time, see that?
Yeah. You want to stop?
Right on the point, boy. I seen you looking.
Putting pressure on you, brother. How you doing? All right.
Hey, Chief, how you doing? You don't like that,
No, I don't, not really.
She told me you're the only one allowed to go in trouble.
Yeah, and that's the truth.
You too.
How you doing? You behave yourself? Life's good?
Yes.
Okay.
School's like going.
You gotta be doing online work, not working.
Yes, we had a
Okay, all right.
Sometimes it's 3,400.
Hey, Chief.
Anything
Play
less
with
than
it.
that.
Everything's right there.
Yeah.
I got it.
I just saw that.
How you got?
Give me a ride home.
Yes.
Great, how are you?
Now, brand new truck, I heard you got